Hello and welcome to the big slideshow, my year in art at Dulles Middle School, my amazing year in art. And I'm going to show you my motivation and my thoughts with just a few projects because there's another presentation that I'll be doing that is the actual projects that we did in sequence. So thanks for being here. I'm Dr. Joan Marsh. Here you see nameplates that were when students were given index cards, and while I went over rules and curriculum and expectations, they simply designed their name on index cards. A great way to learn your students' names, and learn their skill levels. Now here are my actual middle school students. Viviana Hernandez, a 7th grader, did the gum on the shoe, and Emma did the flowers and then the needle and thread, and Jose Pineda, 6th grader, I had them do a positive and a negative on index cards, 2 different variations of their name. And we also hung these in an exhibit. They look great in the halls in black and white. Here is an Art 3 project that I had done that just expands the complexity of it with 16 variations of the student's name and initials in the front cover of a sketchbook. So the nameplates also make a great book plate in a sketchbook. Here was just another idea, a homage to a letter or a number. And another possibility is to use these as cover design. Here you see cover designs by Tao, Steffi, and Nassim, and they had to put their period number and they had to use the elements and principles of design for a 3-ring binder because one of my goals was nothing would be loose. I didn't accept any loose papers. It had to be either in their sketchbook, had to be in their 3-ring binder, or in their portfolio. I could have included color harmonies in those letters on their notebooks and numbers and tessellations. I think it's very important to incorporate art history and to get to know the most famous masters. So we actually did end of semester, first semester presentations in the computer lab called Masters in Pieces. And they had to work in groups of 4 and present a great master in a very short presentation so that they would know Van Gogh, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and are many of the great masters. And they did a fabulous job. We did both blind and contour drawing, inspired by the book The Natural Way to Draw, and we used something that I found in the United Kingdom. We put blinders, which were cardboard squares with a hole in them, on top of the pencil so that the students could not look at their paper. I think when students look at their paper, they go into a very critical mode where they worry that it doesn't look like it's supposed to look, but it's all about eye-hand coordination, and I want them to stay in the right side of their brain where they're drawing and seeing and focused on following that edge or that contour of that object, and they do better when they don't look at their paper where they become critical. So here are the rules for blind contour drawing. Don't look at your paper. Don't pick up your pencil. It should be one continuous line. Please do not talk because talking is left side of the brain and it handles talking and listening. Do not even think of the names of what you're drawing because again you're in the left brain. That means if you're drawing a hand or fingers you will not think hand or fingers because naming things is a left brain activity. You want to expect distortion. Do not let your hand get ahead of your eye or your eye get ahead of your hand. Just look at the edge or the contour of what you're drawing. And I always give this analogy that doing it the right way is like an ant walking along the edge of it. Just like if you were climbing a mountain, you would hold on to those rocks and crevices very, very carefully and move very slowly. The incorrect way to draw is like flying over that mountain in an airplane or just skimming those lines very quickly. You want to move very, very slowly. My middle school students surprised me with some beautiful modified contours of scissors. They were given a pair of scissors and they were to change colors with each modified contour drawing. And here is Tao's beautiful example. We had done several blind contour exercises and this is probably the 3rd day. Remember, modifying means that the students can look up and back at their paper. Another activity is dipping a toothpick in ink and drawing a handful like Jeff Fila did here. Having the students stack shoes on the desk is another great subject matter. And again, you can encourage them to either change media or change colors with each shoe. You could also explore shoes in different media like the pencil, the pen and ink, or pen and ink and watercolor. Here's a detail of the pen and ink tennis shoe studies. Here Susanna was instructed to draw line drawings of a thong sandal or a sandal, and she expanded that possibility by doing charcoal, an army boot, and some other shoes in the same composition. This was actually published in Davis Publications Connections. This example of cross-contour wraparound lines was used to show students that when they're drawing something, if they follow the form with their contour lines, wrapping those lines around it like string around a finger, they will add to the reality of that form. Mannequins and our plants and drawing them and breaking them up into zones where you can play with either media or technique in those different zones. We drew white bottles under spotlights. My 6th graders worked small. My 7th graders worked a little bit larger than them. And then my 8th graders did ghost drawings like you see here where they drew it, erased it, drew it, erased it. And then we did several different steps, did exceptional work. I had media Mondays or masters Mondays, or I would introduce a new concept to all the classes, and then I would change the size and the complexity according to what level I was teaching. It was a great way to reinforce the concept being taught because the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders would see that concept done by each of the different levels and have a better understanding of it. And here were the white bottles under a spotlight with also a face, plaster face, and the students worked in different media. The 6th graders and 7th graders worked in pencil, and the 8th graders worked in charcoal. Here are 2 or 3 variations of the zone piece activity where you change media in each zone. Plants have always been a favorite subject of mine for my art students because I always have so many plants in the room, and you can't really mess up on a plant. Leaves are different sizes, so if a child draws a plant leaf out of proportion in relation to what it really looks like, you really can't tell. Look how the geometric shapes are used, and the students change the color, or you could change the media in that zone. So just look at these and enjoy them. Lots of different subject matter could be used. I chose plant. Color harmonies could also be used. On the left is a 7th grade piece, on the right an 8th grade piece, and you see that complementary colors are being used, and on the right the 8th grader was encouraged to flip-flop the positives and negatives. Where it's green on red, it becomes red on green. These were beautiful. And here are 2 more examples of the zone and the experimentation with color. Another experiment with paint where the students again played with a border design and a flip-flop of complementary colors. If you want to mix things up a little bit when you're contour drawing, you can have the students use white or yellow crayon on white paper to contour draw and then bring watercolor to it. It's a great happy accident. As I said earlier, we did blind and modified contour drawing, but I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have the students do 100 contour faces in their sketchbook? In addition, we do pre-instruction drawings from drawing on the right side of the brain, and I use that theory and research to reinforce students not talking in the art class so that they can tap into the right side of their brain. And they can quote me. I repeat it so many times to reinforce a quiet, focused environment during the class time that they can quote the statistics on why people should not talk when they draw. Here's a good contour drawing exercise that students could play with in their sketchbook or journal, where they take any subject matter. They could do their pet, they could go to the zoo, they could do houses, dogs, cats, any kind of inanimate objects like a chair or a car. They layer 3 or 4 blind contour drawings, one on top of the other on one sheet of paper, and then they pull those drawings together into a cohesive whole by adding lines, colors, or patterns. Taking it further, More possibilities for trying this at home. You could use a camera, an old film canister, your morning coffee or tea or Starbucks, Coke cans lined up in a row, some of them crushed, pots and pans, drinks, and here's a Mountain Dew.
Self-portraiture is the perfect place to practice human portraiture. This is Chelsea Carnato's self-portrait on the right, one of many that she did in a series for her AP portfolio. And on the left, Michelle Ng, who did this in one class period in modified contour drawing. Just shows you what can be done with practice in blind and modified contour. Here are modified contour drawings of Martin Casper on the left and Kim Nguyen on the right that were eventually scanned into the computer and digitized working with the tools of different software programs. This is your life, so document it digitally. Take pictures of you, your friends, your pets, your family. Fun. And then take those pictures and manipulate them digitally. The digital media is simply another tool to express your creativity. I believe it's important to have your art be outside in the school, and I always encourage my students to do installations. And here at the front of George Washington Carver is a mural done by Brad Conklin, who is a Sci-Fair art teacher now, at the entrance of the school. Then I had this idea to write a grant to walls that install wisdom. In the science wing have Einstein with some of his quotes and the theory of relativity. In the math hall have a famous mathematician. In the art hall have Leonardo da Vinci and Picasso, different great artists. It would be a teaching tool. When people walk past the mural, it informs them who this famous person is and what he did in the world. Along those same lines, my Dulles Middle School students during Youth Art Month did pop art celebrity portraits in grids, in group projects, and they were fabulous. And so here are 4 of them on the back of this 10-foot panel. There were 4 more. We took them to the Dulles High School art exhibit, and they were such a big hit. A gentleman saw them and asked if they could be the backdrop at the Dulles High School Rock Fest. So they were on stage. But oh my, they were such a positive advocacy tool. Teachers, principals, we got so many positive comments, and talk about the kids being proud of themselves. It was wonderful. Here are the other 4 pop art celebrity portraits, and some of the students used different media in every square, and some of the students that had not been that productive got so enrolled in this and engaged, and they did an excellent job.